Culture is everywhere. From every human background, there is culture that they have been born into. But we have to be real about something. I think it's about time. In our place and time in history, we are approaching a time where we have to be very serious about who we are, what we've been doing, and where we need to be better for Christ in our lives. Now, some things that I've found out, which is today's show, is that culture is and never has been neutral. It is not a benign thing, in other words. It has motive. It was intentional, and I'll show you why and or how.
Candid Truth.
To begin, we see throughout history that dominant powers have always used culture to shape the way people think. In the Mayan cultures, it was to get praise from the people and get them to be able to do a lot of things to the gods to have power. As we see, culture usually has ingrained in it. And I would like for people to stop using culture as an excuse for things to continue. Pedophilia, rape, and incest might be a part of culture. You can't just say, well, it's been our tradition. It's been our culture all these years. We must continue. Worshipping idols or animals or even stones and crystals and rocks and trees, Mother Earth. It doesn't matter if that has been part of your culture in the past. It cannot just be justified like that. Now, God even calls us out of sorcery, divination, fortune-telling, necromancy. All of these things are also found as culture in some of our backgrounds. Things that are practiced in that culture from those towns, even in your families. Santeria, perhaps. We have to get away from these things. The Bible calls us out. And unfortunately, even for myself and for everyone on planet Earth, there's a truth that I'm about to show you about culture in general. As I said, it's a tool, and it's been used to shape the way people think, believe, and behave. What I found is that this shaping is not organic. If you leave people alone to do natural living, culture doesn't just naturally shape itself this way. It starts borrowing from other cultures, ancient languages, and others around them, and even occult traditions to embed hidden meanings and values into entertainment, sports, education, fashion, and media. This is what those dominating powers of the government or in this world have done. That's the way that they have used it. Satan likes to go ahead and make others compare and start to have these same vices and violations towards God. When he said, do not do these things, do not worship idols, do not fornicate or marry foreign people who have these heathen ways, he meant it. He had a reason for all of this. He told us why. Do not do this, because it was for us to remain pure, his people, spiritually clean, continuing to not become a part of their habits, practices, and festivals and so on, but to remain pure in following him. So without further ado, let's go into it deeper. What we call pop culture is a pipeline of a slow, subtle indoctrination, where the masses begin to accept and normalize things that they once would have rejected. You make it cool, you make it masked in humor or team spirit or national spirit and pride or any other kind of pride and so on, with addictions and substances all attached to it. It doesn't make it okay. Somehow, although we know it's been used against us in that way, just because they're using it in a fun way does not mean it is advocated for or blessed by God. In fact, the more humor and the fun that they can wrap into it, they realize they can get past our frontal lobes. Our brains are not working properly. A lot of stuff slips past us that we would have actually paused and noticed as wrong, according to God's law, if our brain had been working at that moment. But the key is that we do know. And if you don't know, then I'm telling you, these things are wrong. Once we know, we can actually stop and go, just because they laughed at that joke and it had crude humor that was inappropriate does not mean I should have laughed. You stop yourself. Eventually, it becomes your guide. God's law, if you want to be Christian, becomes your guide as to how to act and what your habits, what's your hobbies, what you're putting in front of your eyes, your ears, and even in your mouth It will tell you what that looks like in a Christian's life. It is not any of these things. However, I digress. The point is that we give in to many things that we would not have. We would have rejected them based on moral standards that we know better, but instead we give in to them based on peer pressure, making it look fun, harmless, and everything that Satan also uses to get us hooked and participating. But over time, this builds a shared mindset of everyone rejecting common logic, if you will, and morality together in one mindset that celebrates rebellion against truth, glorifies self-worship, and mocks what is holy. This is not accidental, unfortunately. It's intentional. And behind the scenes, there are those who understand symbolism, spiritual influence, and psychological manipulation that have used culture to literally cultivate the cult. Does this make sense? Culture equals culture. It's a worldwide system of thought that prepares humanity to unite. What are we looking for in the last days? We're looking for people to unite in this ecumenical, which means worldwide message, a one world church, one world government that runs the world in the wrong way. For people to unite, not under truth, but under debauchery and sorcery and the Antichrist power, which is deception. So we're looking for this very thing to happen in the last days, but will some of us realize that it's even happening? Do we realize? Stick with me. Because, like I said, it's uniting not around truth, but around deception. It's the slow forming of the one world cult, masked as progress, unity, and inclusivity. Don't we hear that all the time? Be inclusive, but at its core, it is about control. And we know that, don't we? Getting everyone to think the same, speak the same, and ultimately worship the same false light. And it's not a coincidence that they call it programming. When we have computer programming, television programming, streaming programming, it is all designed to program your thinking using repetition, using symbolism, and emotional manipulation. This is known as social engineering, where a calculated effort to shape society's values, desires, and beliefs are predetermined direction. In other words, there are men, whether it's Illuminati or the elites, that are behind them, these initiatives and the social engineering, programming these things and going, yes, let's do this. They're almost behind there pulling the strings, flipping the switches, making it look fun so that it can be followed and directed in this way. Will we be discerning enough to see it? So when we truly look at it, what does the word culture mean? When we get into the etymology of it, the Latin word cultus, which we get from both cult and culture, means care, cultivation, worship, or reverence for a deity. It comes from the verb colliere or colliery. Maybe I'm not saying it right, but that means to till, to cultivate, protect, or honor. So in some ways, they are getting us to cultivate the cult, protection and honor and reverence for a deity of the wrong kind in our culture today. That's what makes it culture. Some of us might be coming from our different backgrounds with all kinds of culture, where it's becoming now a melting pot of a American culture. And that's kind of like saying a coexist movement is going on. We're trying to accept every little thing, Hinduism, Buddhism, pantheism, and Christianity all in one, which is their plan. That's their thing they're trying to do. That we're warned against this unity coming. That is not to be something we as true Christians get wrapped up into. But colliere told you what that meant. Further, in ancient Rome, they have a word that's called cultus deorum, meant the worship of the gods through ritual, feast, and sacrifice. In other words, culture and cult have always been tied together to worship and the shaping of thought through habitual devotion to care for and reverence a specific deity. So when we say culture, we are witnessing modern day cultus. The rituals, yes, we see those rituals everywhere. The images and beliefs people live by and often subconsciously worship as well. We see it with their idols, like literally American idols, their sports teams, celebrities, actors, actresses. They have this. We have this attached to every part of culture. Culture has always been the rising up of the cult hidden in plain sight. Further proof that culture has always been something that has been intentional comes straight from this man, Joseph Goebbels, who is Hitler's minister of propaganda. He explicitly used culture as a tool, which is used today. He said, "We want to cultivate obedience and unify the population into a single ideological cult. Use cinema, music, art, and education to weaponize, beauty and emotion. Why? Because you can use that against the people to get them drawn into doing things they would not have regularly done if they were using their discernment, wisdom, having the perception, and being able to see that many of these things that are wrong to do are being cloaked in beauty, emotion, and fun and pleasure. The goal? To fuse art with ideology and fuse people into a hive mind. This was actually part of a very conscious program, but it was the Nazification of all social and cultural institutions to ensure absolute alignment with the state's worldview. Isn't that amazing to all of a sudden just have that stated by Hitler's minister of propaganda? It's crazy. Beyond propaganda, the Nazis, of course, were steeped in the occult heavily. They had groups like the Thule Society and the Vril Society, which combined pagan mysticism, secret rituals, and esoteric symbols to craft their vision of a new age, a golden era ruled by elite knowledge. Does this sound familiar? We have been hearing about the golden age, cosmic egg. If you've been watching our channel, please go watch that particular show. The new age, the occult, has been looking for this period of time to come for a long time. In what they also call the New World Order. So this was the Nazis. They were looking for this time period to come about. And after World War II, these same tools were picked up by global media producers, governments, and intelligence agencies in order to control people. Edward Bernays, the father of public relations and nephew of Sigmund Freud, pioneered modern mass manipulation through desire, fear, and repetition. He said, if we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. This was the goal behind all of it. Like I'm saying, from the Nazis' standpoint, their influence onto modern day networks, the way our society works today. This is how people from many cultures and different backgrounds are being unified into one culture today by appealing not to truth, but to their universal fallen nature of man. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. Even though external cultures vary, they all do, from what we wear, we eat, the way we speak, all these things. A shared craving for fame, pleasure, and self-glory is exploited through entertainment, technology, fashion, food, and education. And again, this is why it's called programming. It is actually social engineering on a global scale. Very clever, huh? The Bible doesn't talk much about culture in a modern sense, but it speaks volumes about the world, idolatry, and false unity, like we've been speaking of. The first verse that it has on this is 1 John 2:15, where it says, do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Because we must be one with the Father, and we cannot come to the Father except through Jesus Christ, his Son. You have to put those together. So if you love the world or anything of the world, you do not have the Father either. You have one of those missing for sure. The next verse I have is Revelation 13:3-4. It says, all the world marveled and followed the beast and worshiped the beast. This is a result. We can see it everywhere. Then there's Revelation 18:4. And it says, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins. So from the Tower of Babel to the prophecies of Revelation, we can see the pattern is clear. Mankind continually tries to unite through pride and rebellion against God. But in the end, all nations will be deceived into one cult system, spiritually known as Babylon. Today we would know it actually as monism, ecumenicism, or the coexist movement. A single religion, ultimately leading to self-godhood, is what the occult, the New Age, and those who are in satanic movements are looking for. Externalization of the hierarchy, and you to become and realize you can be your own God, basically. And we see many touting national or cultural pride today. But the truth is, all of it must be brought to the foot of the cross. The truth is, culture must bow to Christ. Once we come to Christ, our old ways, even cultural ones, must be crucified. We are no longer citizens of an earthly kingdom or a cultural ethnicity. We are citizens of heaven and must act like one. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation, it says. The old has passed away, 2 Corinthians 5:17. It also says, you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, 1 Peter 2:9. Now, if you want to follow culture and these rituals and sacrifices and all of these things of culture, holidays, festivals and so on, you cannot really claim to be that pure, clean, chosen generation, royal priesthood, a holy nation. You have been chosen by God, but you have not been accepted to remain pure. We cannot have one foot in the world, in culture, and one foot somehow in heaven, in our heavenly Christian life. The Bible doesn't redeem cultures. It actually redeems people from them. This means, now listen, this means tradition must be laid at the cross, and ethnic pride must be crucified and replaced with heaven's identity. No culture, no tradition, no heritage will be taken into the heavenly kingdom. Only the culture of heaven will remain. It says, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor circumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond or free, but Christ is all and in all. This means we are all equal. We are all going to be the same. There is no culture. There is no race. None is greater than another except the Godhead. And if we want to realize or accept truly our place in heaven, we have to act now and practice it today. That means we only practice our citizenship and the culture of heaven. So I hope that it's been enlightening and that this is motivational for us to let go of these other things that are standing in the way, usually to cause issues between others, to usually stroke our own pride and ego. We don't need any of that when we're in heaven. Like I said, Bible does not justify or redeem culture. It actually redeems people from it. It saves them, frees them from it. So I hope you've liked that. Please let us know in the comments. Love you guys, and I'll see you later.
Candid Truth.